Hello, kings and queens. Welcome back to another video. Before we start, we would like to thank you for all the support you've given us. Most New Year's resolutions fail. So in this video, I want to talk about the science of why they fail and how to avoid that. So your New Year's resolutions actually succeed, and I want to tell you about 3 of my New Year's resolutions for 2024. The first one is to stop going to news websites. I find I kill a ton of time by doing that. Now, don't get me wrong. I do think it's important to know what's going on in the world, but I just don't think following the day-to-day developments of the news cycle is the way to do that. So instead, I am going to get one newspaper delivered to my house every week, and that is how I am going to stay informed. Research has shown it is more effective to make resolutions at New Year's than at any other time of the year. In fact, one study found that people who made resolutions on January 1st were 10 times as likely to stick with them 6 months later than people who made their resolutions at other times of the year. But now the bad news. Even a resolution made at New Year's will most likely fail, which is why gyms are packed in January, but they start to clear out by March. What research has found that only around 8% of people can stick with their resolutions through the end of the year. So why is this? And how do we avoid that trap? I think it all starts with a misconception. So I think the misconception is that people think that in order to make big changes in their lives that they have to make some sort of really big effort. I mean, let's say your goal was to run a marathon. You might plan on running 10 kilometers 3 times a week. That seems kind of proportionate to the end goal. And you might be excited and really motivated to do it for the first few weeks. But at some point, that motivation is going to lag. And running 10K is going to seem too hard. And so you're going to sort of fall back into old habits. The misconception is thinking you need to go big, and so being overambitious with your goals and then not being able to commit and stick to them. The truth is you're much better off if you pick small targets that you can hit consistently. That's the idea behind James Clear's book Atomic Habits, which is this idea that if you can get just 1% better every day at something, it will take a minimum amount of effort, but over time, the effects will compound just like compound interest, and James Clear proposes the 2-minute rule. Pick something that you can do in just 2 minutes. So if you want to run a marathon, start by, say, running 2 minutes a day. That is something that you can't say you don't have time for, and once that habit sticks, well, then you can try to extend it into something more ambitious. The next problem with resolutions is they are too often vague. The most common resolutions that people make are to lose weight, exercise more, and to eat better. The problem is those things are so nondescript that it's hard to know if you're making progress, and it's really easy to regress into your old habits. So the science around this says you need to be specific and write down your goals. People who write down their goals are 40% more likely to achieve them. That is pretty significant just by taking that step of putting pen to paper. And I'm thinking here in this video, you should put your New Year's resolutions in the comments because at least that is taking a step towards committing yourself to a goal for the year. My second New Year's resolution for 2024 is to write in a daily planner every day of this year. In fact, I can be more specific than that. I will write 1 word in this book each day. Now, I know 1 word might seem unhelpfully, ridiculously little to write in this book, but I want to commit to this idea of starting small with the idea that if I get in the habit of making the time to at least write down 1 word on each one of these pages, well, then maybe some days I will write more than 1 word, and that will be helpful in terms of planning my day a little bit, and so hopefully I will be more productive than I would have been otherwise. And then it's really important to track your progress in an obvious and visual way. So the third major problem with New Year's resolutions is that people seem to think it's about having more willpower or motivation, being able to resist temptation better, but willpower is a finite resource and it can be depleted, that there are going to be some bad days, and that is when you're going to relapse. So relying on willpower is not an effective strategy. And research has shown that people who have better self-control actually just have to exercise it less. The way they're able to do that is by structuring their environment so they don't have to exercise their willpower. I find in my kitchen it's always like the treats and snacks which are left out on the counter, but the veggies which are like tucked away in the vegetable crisper drawer, and I get it because you know that's where the veggies are meant to go to keep them crisp. But the problem is, if I don't see them, if they're not in my line of sight, I will just end up eating what's on the counter and not going digging for veggies. So we need a way of changing our environment so that we make better choices. Which brings me to my third and final New Year's resolution for 2024. I am deleting social media apps off of my phone. I'm getting rid of Instagram and Twitter. The reason for this is, I find I just kill way too much time going into these apps, and research shows that any tiny distraction that you have during your day takes you, something like 20-25 minutes to get back into your work. And so I'm losing a lot of time to just procrastinating with these apps. So I'm getting rid of them off my phone so I don't have to use my willpower to not click them mindlessly as I normally would. And I've actually downloaded an app that will block news sites and block my social media while I'm working. Because that way I don't have to restrain myself. The systems that I put in place will restrain me. For me, I know a lot of this sounds a little bit CGP gray, but I think he's on to something. You don't need to follow the day-to-day movements of the news cycle, and you do not need to be scrolling social media all the time, particularly when you're trying to get useful work done. So that's how I feel. I want to optimize my 2024 by locking down all my potential distractions, not needing any willpower, and I've got some small, specific, and written down, targeted with tracking plans for 2024. So I'd love to know what you're planning for 2024 for your New Year's resolutions. What are your plans for the next decade? If you find this video helpful, be sure to like and share this video with those who might benefit from it. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell icon to get notified whenever King Mahan posts a new video. Thanks for watching, and see you in our next video. Video by King Mahan.